The Hoosier state may not be so used to the spotlight during primary elections. Indiana is usually a footnote on the path to the national conventions, but this year every delegate vote matters. This week we've seen some wheeling and dealing, and then even a unique vice presidential pick for a second-place candidate. Josh Kroshar is a political editor at the National Journal, and he joins me now. Josh, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. I want to play a soundbite for you and get your reaction. We heard Governor Mike Pence of Indiana come out on Friday. He had an interview with a radio station. He didn't necessarily vote, he said, against any candidate, but he said he was going to vote for Ted Cruz. I want to play a soundbite of Ted Cruz and get your reaction. Take a listen.
Thrilled to have Governor Pence's support. I am a huge fan of Governor Mike Pence. He is a principled, strong conservative. And you know, look, I recognize the media wants to do what they can to poo-poo the endorsement. It is significant to have the strong conservative governor of Indiana making clear that he is voting for me and he is supporting me.
I said the media there poo-pooing the announcement. I want to get your reaction to the timing, and also, are endorsements really heavy hitters this election cycle?
Well, look, Mike Pence was the most important Republican in Indiana that Ted Cruz could have counted on to swing votes in a very close race there. The problem is it was one of the most half-hearted endorsements I've ever seen from an important figure. He spent more time on the radio praising Donald Trump than he did praising Ted Cruz. So the real question is, with Trump with at least a small advantage in the final stretch in Indiana, will such a lukewarm endorsement really swing enough votes that Ted Cruz needs to win the state?
One thing that we've noticed with Senator Ted Cruz is his strategy. It's almost like he's played this game of chess throughout the primary election cycle. Which is more influential, do you think, picking out a vice presidential pick before you're the nominee, or creating an alliance with another candidate when you go to a state as important as Indiana?
All three plays are Hail Mary plays. They're basically realizing the clock is running out. If Ted Cruz does not win Indiana, it's very unlikely he can get the Republican nomination. So he's throwing out every play in the playbook. The most effective one was the Pence endorsement. I mean, when you can get someone who's a respected governor who's up for re-election on your side, it is important. It would have been better if that happened a week ago. It would have been better if Mike Pence has been spending time on the campaign trail touting Ted Cruz's campaign. He hasn't done that quite yet. We're expecting one appearance perhaps on the final day of the campaign. But this is sort of a little too late for Ted Cruz to really have a big impact in the race.
We're hearing not only from the Cruz campaign, but pundits, that Indiana is really the last straw. But that's not the first time that we've heard that. We heard that ahead of Super Tuesday. We heard that ahead of other contests. Is Indiana really the last straw for him? Does he have to win Indiana?
Ted Cruz has to win Indiana, and it is really important in the race at large, because if Ted Cruz comes from behind and wins Indiana, you'll get a couple of weeks of the comeback kid, you know, Cruz having an unlikely victory in a state that he looked like he was going to lose, and the map moves further west as we go into May and into June.
Are those more Cruz-friendly states?
And those are more Cruz-friendly states. So the math is there still for Cruz to deny Trump the magic number of 1237 delegates, but he needs to win Indiana and build off momentum from that if he has any chance of doing so.
Okay, my last question will be about Indiana. We talked a little bit about the alliance that was formed between him and Kasich. Is there any risk there? Could they be perhaps speaking to voters that may say, well, I'm going to go for Trump and not Kasich then?
Here's the problem. John Kasich isn't really going along with this so-called alliance, and he's still telling his supporters to vote for him in Indiana. And he's really the key to the Indiana race, because Trump is polling around 40%. There are about 60% of Indiana Republicans who want to vote for someone other than Donald Trump. But Kasich is right next door in Ohio. He's still getting about 15–20% of that vote, and if he continues to hold to that, 15 to 20%, it's very hard for Ted Cruz to build a plurality of the majority.
Josh, thank you so much for joining us, helping us make sense of it all. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.